Hello, my name's Bella Edgley and I'm an artist working mostly with watercolours. Today I'll be talking about how I created this watercolour painting, and I actually added a medium to this to increase the flow. I've never used it before and I'll talk more about that as I do the demonstration. Okay, so I've got my piece of paper ready here, and this is an Archer's cold press fine grain paper, and I did do these sketches in my sketchbook which I'm going to use mostly for reference for the colours, but also the idea of this sort of mountain in the background. But I want my painting to be softer than these, and I'm going to try this blending medium from Winsor & Newton, which is basically a liquid, and you just add that to your paints with or without water. Okay, so for my paints I'm using Winsor & Newton, and all my colours are a mix of two colours. So the first one is Indanthrene Blue and Payne's Grey, the second is Windsor Violet and Indanthrene Blue, and the third is Windsor Violet and Burnt Sienna. So I've just added a bit of my blending medium to my colours, but you could just add water. I just thought this would be an interesting experiment, and also I'm doing a fairly large painting and I thought this might help to make the colours run a bit more smoothly. So first of all I'm just wetting my paper with some clean water, and I have speeded this part of the video up, but I am making sure that it's well covered. Okay, so let's get started with the painting. First on is the Indanthrene Blue and Payne's Grey mix, which makes a really nice navy blue, but not too dark. And I'm using a really big brush there, and I'm painting in the sort of vague shape of a mountain. And actually this blending medium is making the paint, I would say, definitely a different consistency to when you add water. It's, I would say, sort of thinner. It's maybe harder to get a really dark colour, but I will be doing more experiments, and like I said, you definitely don't need to use the blending medium. It would be fine to mix the paint with water. Okay, so where the paper is wet you can see that the paint is sort of seeping across the page a little bit. And next up it's going to be time to add my Windsor Violet and Indanthrene Blue mix, which I'm going to do in a band underneath that first colour. Now obviously these two colours are quite different, but they both contain Indanthrene Blue, and that's just really harmonising those two colours. And that is a good trick for harmonising your colour palette, is to sort of add a little bit of one colour to the next. Okay, so I was freestyling a bit there and I was using a squidgy to move the paint, but actually I had a bit of blue on the squidgy which came off on the paper. But it's a good moment to point out that if you do make a mistake while your paints are wet, you can just get some water and remove the paint. Okay, so I'm getting my brush now and I'm going over that darker blue at the top, because I really do want the painting to be quite blended and smooth, so that's what I'm doing there. Okay, so now it's time to put down my third colour, which is the Windsor Violet and Burnt Sienna, and that is a really lovely, quite neutral colour that I haven't actually used much before. And again, that's well harmonised with the colour above because they both contain Windsor Violet. Okay, so I've speeded this next part of the video up quite a lot. The reality is I was actually working fairly slowly. In fact, this blending medium does mean that the paints dry slower, which gives you a bit more time. Okay, and what I'm doing here is I'm getting the end of my paintbrush and I'm very roughly drawing in a kind of feeling of a river, and I'm just scratching that into the surface, and that will become lines once the paint is dry. And I'm adding colours here, blending a bit and just allowing the paint to move around to see what it's going to do. Now I'm going to put the music up for a bit here. I don't want to speed this up too quickly because I'm trying to show how the paint really does move around quite a lot without you doing much at all. Again, what I'm doing now is I'm going to blend the top of that mountain more up into the sky, because I want quite sort of smooth transitions from one part to the next of the painting. Now it's not looking quite as smooth as I'd like, so I'm carrying on blending those colours together, and I am finding that the blending medium is good for this. It would be really interesting to do the same painting alongside just with water, and I might do that for a future video. But I have done many paintings very similar to this without a blending medium, so it's definitely possible just with water. So if you don't have the blending medium, then it doesn't matter. You can go ahead and just use your watercolors with water. Okay, so it's really important with watercolors to not overwork them, and I feel like this painting is starting to be finished, so I'm just going to get a mount and use it as a viewfinder for possible compositions, because I will be cropping this painting. Now, I really like the way that this painting has a kind of soft look, and I think that the colours have harmonised with each other really well. Okay, so yes, I'm definitely happy with this now. I'm going to take it away and let it dry, and it will dry lighter, so let's see what we've got. Okay, so here we go. Here's the finished painting, and it has dried quite a bit lighter than when it was wet, but I'm really happy with it, and I'm going to be cropping it in a portrait format. I don't have a mount that's big enough, so I've done a mock-up here, which is on the screen. And like I said, I'm really happy with how this painting turned out, and I think it's been really interesting to use the blending medium. I think for another video what I'll do is I'll do a direct comparison, so I'll do one painting just with water and one painting just using the blending medium. Now, I'm pretty sure that for larger paintings this blending medium is going to be really useful. I have in the past used acrylic paint for large paintings, because when thinned down with water or a flow improver, it does tend to go on in a more uniform way than watercolour, particularly I find when it's very hot. But I'm trying to avoid using acrylic paint now, partly because I've got so much watercolour paint and I just love this medium, and also because there's no polymers or plastic in watercolour, so it's easier to clean and it's better for the environment. Now, we'll be looking at other mediums that you can add to watercolour in the future. For example, there is one called Aquapasto which I've been trying out, and this makes the watercolour paint a little bit more like oils, so there's so much to explore with watercolour, and I'm so excited about future possibilities for videos. So I really hope that you've enjoyed this demonstration, and if you had, then please hit like, and if you'd like to see similar videos in the future, then please subscribe to my channel. Okay, thank you, bye!